Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Hope you had a good long holiday weekend. And if it wasn't a holiday weekend for you, I hope you had a good one anyway. So we have bulls showing up over the weekend, and we're going to check in on the broader stock market, where we stand relative to the broader stock market. We're going to look at a bunch of the altcoins, and then I'll take some ticker requests, answer any questions. We got the volume going this time around. That's a good start. Let's get rid of a big face and onto the charts. And actually, there is a new ebook that I would like to share. Struggling with Scaling. So this is if you are struggling to size up. So say things are going well and you have some consistency and you're not sure how much size you want to increase your positions, problems that people face transitioning from paper trading, psychological issues, scaling up positions. Here's a link, and I'll put the link in the description of the video as well. Got another ebook for next week, and that one's going to be Creating a Risk-Free Trade. Check them out. They're helpful. All right, so the Nasdaq today started the morning with a bit of weakness, dragging down Bitcoin with it. Bitcoin and the Nasdaq from the open at 9:30 a.m. were very correlated. But we can see that the Nasdaq bulls have recovered. This is the 4-hour time frame. So we set a 4-hour high or low, and here we are testing the weekend high. So this is now the most important two levels for me, and that resistance is coming back into play. And there's two things that are going to happen here. Well, three things. We're either going to break bull and see straight up continuation into tomorrow. We're going to reject from resistance and form a tightening equilibrium through tomorrow. Or we're going to fail resistance and break support, seeing daily consolidation underway. So bulls are pleased with how it's playing out right now. We just hit a new high of the day. We've got some nice little 15-minute support levels on the way up. So a little bit of strength out there. That being said, 5-minute time frame, currently not seeing a whole bunch of follow through. So bulls definitely want to put a little exclamation point on things here to not be a rising wedge. And we'll see if they're able to pull that off. We'll continue to check back in here over the next half hour to see if this rising wedge is following or is shaping up or not. So we're going to look back at how the weekend played out, so a little bit of hindsight, and then we're going to look forward as to what we're anticipating from here. And again, just to compare Bitcoin to the Nasdaq, we ended last week with the broader stock market with multiple days of bounce. Thursday, Friday, really nice bounce follow through, and Bitcoin did not participate in that at all. But it all changed Sunday night into Monday. And this chart here, Bitcoin divided by the Nasdaq, is showing us that we played laggard catch-up. So the Nasdaq broke bull Thursday and Friday, and we dropped down as we showed a lot of relative weakness comparative to the Nasdaq. Then, Sunday night into Monday yesterday, Bitcoin bulls, altcoin bulls showed up in a big way, and we played catch-up in a big way. In the end, we're back where we were. So we were within this little range here for a very long time. Look how many weeks and weeks within this range, and now we're right back in it. So Bitcoin bulls really want to break this level of 256, which would show us that we are now showing relative strength against the Nasdaq. And it would be essentially a 2-day trend change taking place. If we can break that resistance, it'll be the low, high of the bounce, higher low, and that would be a higher high. So that's something to be keeping an eye on, and that is something the bulls definitely want to play out. We want to have relative strength against the broader stock market. All right, so Bitcoin daily time frame, we can see we're up to the highest levels. We broke the bounce high, which is a great sign. So highest levels that we've seen in over 3 weeks, just about 3 weeks. So we now zoom out because the weekly bounce is underway. Pattern had a lower high every single week for 5 weeks. That has now broken. And again, it broke Thursday and Friday for the stock market. We're just following along now. So now the big question is, where do we top out? Anticipating that a weekly lower high is the most likely scenario. It's still a potential weekly bear flag. So bulls need to maintain this bounce and see follow through for ideally multiple more weeks. So I would say that if we don't break 34,000, which is the 382 retracement, that a bear flag remains on the table. If bulls can get 35,000 plus on this bounce, then we have space being created for an eventual weekly trend change attempt. When's the last time Bitcoin's been in a weekly uptrend? It hasn't happened. I take that back. The monthly bear flag was a weekly uptrend that lacked follow through. But a weekly trend change back to the bulls would be very notable for me as far as shifting sentiment and some bigger picture conviction for bulls, and keeping an eye on a couple trend lines as well. Again, right now I'm on the weekly time frame, and I'm watching something like this. Again, just as a visual guide, I'm not making any trades based off these lines. I just always want to put a couple trend lines on my chart so I can have that visual in addition to the price levels that stand out very clear to me. So, all right, we're in the midst, M-I-D-S-T, midst. It's an interesting word to pronounce. We're in the midst of a bounce, and the bulls must maintain daily higher lows next time we consolidate. So this morning we had some weakness. We had a base of support at 31.4. We had a bear break that lacked follow through, and again a V-shaped recovery thanks to the broader market bulls. So I personally have a small position, and I grabbed a small position when 31.4 held for the third time this morning. And the good thing about a small position is you can give it a lot of wiggle room before stopping out. The bad news is once the bull move takes place, you're not making a ton of profit. But this is just essentially my anti-FOMO position to just have some exposure at this point. The 12-hour was a little bit of a bull flag, pull back into continuation. And at this point, if I'm going to be adding anything, it's going to be on daily consolidation, looking for a daily higher low. And the reason I'm remaining patient is, again, because, number one, long-term no-touch positions is my real anti-FOMO, which obviously has taken a big-time hit over the last few months, but recovering a bit. And number two, just not a ton of conviction for me personally. Short-term, there's a clear sentiment shift. There's no doubt about that. Things changed drastically with yesterday's daily candle. But knowing that the weekly is just looking for a lower high is also in the back of my mind. And the Nasdaq, same thing. We know we're looking for a weekly lower high on this Nasdaq bounce. How much follow through do we get? Is it a weekly bear flag or not? So I am choosing to be a bit more conservative as a bull, and I am okay with giving up some gains to remain conservative. This is not the environment for me personally to go aggressive. I go aggressive when we are dumping and when we are in free fall. And so I did play that bounce, but this was a little bit of a different setup. So the dominance chart is still real strong here, and we're seeing it going up on both pullbacks and bounces now. So essentially we're seeing Bitcoin, comparative to the altcoin space in general, we're seeing Bitcoin leading on the bounces and pulling back less significantly. So we know this weekly chart is still in breakout mode from that long, drawn-out, year-long equilibrium that we were watching for a very long time. And we have these two resistance levels. And again, they're not technically resistance. They're, ratios showing us the relative strength of Bitcoin comparative to altcoins. But I'm using those as a couple visual guides to be keeping an eye on. And Bitcoin is a decent place to be for bulls. What bulls want to see, in my opinion, on the right side of my screen here, I've got the list up. We can see there's a bunch of green alts, but also a bunch of red alts. What the bulls want to see, in my opinion, is Bitcoin leading on bull moves, which it did, and then seeing the dominance chart dropping while altcoins catch up. So again, keeping an eye on the relationship between the dominance chart and the crypto space as a whole, because we don't often, or we have not often the past couple years, seen the dominance chart going up while the crypto space is going up. When it has happened in the past, it's been short-lived. And again, I'm referring to the last 2 years, but it's been short-lived where Bitcoin gets a pop and then it trades sideways and alts catch up as the dominance chart drops. So in the healthiest environment, that's what the bulls want to see, in my opinion. But right now, it's just a steady daily uptrend on that dominance chart. And you can definitely justify being a bull in Bitcoin as long as that dominance chart does keep putting in those daily higher lows. So, long story short, we're going to be looking for a loss of, this is now the most important support level for me, 31.2 thousand. If we lose 31.2, daily consolidation will be shaping up. And as long as that level holds, then we're going to keep setting these higher lows. As I've mentioned recently, another thing that I'm watching very closely for, how does the market respond to oversold conditions? We know in your healthiest uptrends, when you're in a weekly, daily, blue sky breakout, all-time highs uptrend, you see 5-minute oversold conditions mark hourly higher lows. You see hourly oversold conditions mark daily higher lows. That shows aggressive dip buying from bulls. It's a real good sign, in my opinion, that this morning, 5-minute oversold conditions barely happened and bulls aggressively bought that dip. That's what you want to see in a strong market. And that shows, again, dip buying. That shows sustained interest from bulls. So we're going to look at this through perspective of both bulls and bears. In the short term, there's definitely a potential 15-minute head and shoulders pattern here. And actually, I liked it better on the 5-minute there. But this is a left shoulder, a head. If we fail 32.4, our top, and set a lower high, and then break 31.8, it's a head and shoulders confirming into hourly consolidation. Bulls will then have to hold 31.2 to set an hourly higher low. So there is a potential short-term pattern for bears to be keeping an eye on. If I'm looking bullish, again, you got to determine, do you want to be aggressive or conservative? Conservative is waiting for daily consolidation. I mean, really conservative is waiting for the weekly bounce to top out, and then they're going to be interested in a weekly higher low. The next most conservative is waiting for daily consolidation before looking for any entries. Aggressive is going to be looking for an hourly higher low entry next consolidation. So you have to determine what is your risk tolerance and what is your confidence. So because I don't have a ton of confidence in bulls on the longer term time frames, I'm not in any rush to be jumping into any meaningful bullish positions. All coins have a ton of volatility, as we're going to look at. So plenty of trading opportunity there. Some coins going 50% plus over the last few days. Then we get big pullbacks for bears to have a chance. So definitely a lot of volatility in those names for shorter term trading opportunity. But if we're talking bigger picture, I still need some proving from the bulls. And step one, as I mentioned, would be getting to 35,000 plus for that retracement size on the weekly bounce to be significant. So that's something I'm going to be watching closely for along the way. Bears at this point, again, real aggressive bears, they're scouting that head and shoulders that I just pointed out as a possibility to look for an entry comparative to the high of the day up to this point. But otherwise, looking for signs that daily consolidation is shaping up. And we don't have those at this point as long as the 4-hour uptrend is intact. So need to see signs of the 4-hour uptrend in jeopardy of being lost for swing trading bears to gain some confidence. Ethereum has been much weaker than Bitcoin. It's technically still in a daily downtrend. Big bounce off the lows, absolutely. And it's now a triple bottom at 1,700. We've held 1,700 2 times recently. It's a quintuple bottom. 3 holds in July, almost a year ago, and 2 holds now. So 5 holds in total from that support. And we're still in a daily downtrend. 2020 is our last little lower high. Other than that, we've got 2088. So 2 clear daily lower high resistance levels. And we know that we're not believing that this bounce can have notable follow through unless we see daily higher lows and higher highs, showing bulls buying dips, showing bears continuing to be forced out of short-term positions. And again, you look at the weekly chart for Ethereum, its bounce isn't even underway yet. We've set a lower high every single week on Ethereum for 9 weeks in a row now, unless we break 2088. So again, a patient bull is going to wait for a daily high or low, but watch that ETH BTC chart. It's very weak. We know we just had a monthly bear break on this chart. We're in a downtrend on a monthly, weekly, daily time frame. And if this ETH BTC chart breaks this current low and confirms this daily bear flag, the probabilities that Ethereum can break 1700 support are going to increase a bit. So if I'm going to be looking for Ethereum bullish for anything more than just short-term bounces, have to see the ETH BTC chart stop putting in daily lower highs every single bounce. And that's the case for any altcoin. Any altcoin, again, there were significant gains. If you're timing it for a short-term trade so that the bounce takes place with the US dollar and the BTC pairing at the same time, then Ethereum the last 3 days was the place to be for the bounce comparative to Bitcoin. But if you're looking further out than that, the daily downtrend on ETH BTC matters a whole bunch. And again, it's still a very weak chart overall at this point. Couple names that I want to be looking at. You know I like to group names that have similar technical setups. It previously was the Three Musketeers where we had that solid bull move however many months ago. And that was Sol and... Was Luna a part of that? I forget who it was. Sol was one of them. Sol, ADA, and somebody else. But there's now 3 other names that I'm looking at that are very similar. And they are bounce leaders. They broke the high of their bounce long before Bitcoin. And a name like Sushi. Sushi is in a daily uptrend where I'm viewing this as the low of the dump, high of the bounce, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. So we are in a daily uptrend, and the weekly bounce is getting some follow through. Again, it's still extremely weak. It's still a potential bear flag. We need a lot more proving from the bulls, but we're hitting the highest levels of this bounce with higher lows and higher highs. Other names that are similar that were bounce leaders initially, Binance is one of them, and XTZ was the other. So I'm looking at those 3 as similar. Sushi, as we just saw, broke to the daily higher high. Binance and XTZ have not. So if I'm an aggressive bear, I'm scouting a top fish here, and we're either going to see a 12-hour cup and handle-like pattern if Bitcoin bulls are able to follow through and see significant strength and bounce follow through. This is XTZ now. Or if Bitcoin rolls over, if stocks roll over into daily consolidation and Bitcoin follows, then we're going to be watching for a daily lower high. Because if we cannot break 226 on XTZ, it's a daily lower high and we look for a tightening range. And Binance is the same. So if Binance cannot break the double top at 338, it's just a daily lower high. We'll still have full short-term control, but we're keeping an eye out. You know, these bull breaks are lacking some follow-through. Are we shaping up a daily lower high compared to recent daily tops? And the BTC pairings can help give us clues. Look at Binance BTC. Daily downtrend confirmed. So Binance has been a lot weaker than Bitcoin over the last 6 days after leading. It fell out of favor. It was a lead spotlight bull with a higher low every single daily candle. That pattern broke. Highlighted that a few live streams ago. And now it's following through. So Binance isn't dumping because Bitcoin's going up, but Binance is underperforming Bitcoin the last 6 days. So if this BNB BTC chart stays weak and Bitcoin sees any kind of pullback, Binance is positioned to set a daily lower high compared to 338. So I'm just viewing these 3 names as their own little grouping because their daily bounces are a lot different than a lot of altcoins, which are still in daily downtrends. I mean, let's go down the list right now of these altcoins. GMT, I mean, look at this bounce. We got daily EMA 12 resistance. We've got lower highs for weeks still in play. Ape, same deal. So a lot of these altcoin bounces are not proving a thing. Look at AVAX. Last daily lower high is 33.12. We just topped out more than 10% away from resistance. I guess we haven't officially topped out convincingly, but you get my point. There's a ton of these altcoins where their daily charts, sure, they're bouncing and they're cooling off RSI and there are good gains off of the lows. Only the most aggressive bulls are benefiting from those gains because you pretty much had to step in front of a lot of bearish action to get those positions. It was some hourly falling wedges. But daily downtrends. Keep it simple. I mean, a lot of these altcoins are still in daily downtrends. Sol is still in a daily downtrend. Lower high, EMA 12 resistance, anything under 54.68. So even at the top of this bounce, well over 10% away from daily lower high resistance. So personally, if I'm looking bearish, I'm looking at the names that are still in clear daily downtrends, and I'm watching for them to shape up daily lower highs. Atom, daily lower high. OMG is a stronger name. But there are plenty of names still forming daily lower highs. There's plenty of names that are a bit choppy and unclear, like Sand. Sand's still fairly range bound, so more of a sideways channel. I like Mana on the 2-day time frame. Going to be viewing it as a low, high, higher low at 90 cents, and viewing anything under 136 as a lower high. You can compartmentalize names in different ways. You can say, okay, who's broken the initial bounce high? Bitcoin, Binance, Sushi, XTZ, those coins that I mentioned, and who has not? Because obviously the names that have not are range bound. We had a very wide range from the low of the dump to the high of the bounce, and there's a ton of coins that are still trading within that range and could potentially do so for another couple weeks, another week plus. So overall, there are definitely some bullish bounces from the last few days. We can be watching for names to be looking for 12-hour higher lows. Again, you look at this Sand name, and we see a 152 resistance level, a 152 double top, and a 12-hour bull flag attempt. So it's possible that we see a name like this play laggard. Again, so much of this boils down to, every time I'm looking at a setup like this and I'm imagining, okay, what would need to happen for this to break bull? Stocks. Do stocks keep this bounce going throughout the week? If they do, Bitcoin's going to head up to 53 or 33, 34,000. And we'll look for a name like Sand to act as a laggard and break its range, its sideways range bullish, and play a little bit of catch up. So aggressive bulls are positioning for 12-hour higher lows. The EMAs here, so look at Sand's EMA 12 and 26. We crossed bear at 386. We then dropped 70% plus, and we're on the verge. If we back test and hold it here, and then confirm that bull break of this range, then we've got a bull cross of those EMAs for the first time in a very long time. 2 months. So there are definitely bull setups out there. Just got to manage that risk, set those clear stops, and risk a dollar amount that you are willing to stop out of. Is Sand on Coinbase yet? Yes. Sand now has my attention. It didn't until 10 minutes ago, but I like that sideways range. Sand BTC needs the 12-hour higher low as well. It's much weaker, so that has to change as well. Double top at the high of the bounce. Still a little higher lows here. Volatility is coming for Sand. That much I can say for sure. That's a key little level on the daily for the BTC pairing. Because if that level breaks, we lose the higher lows after the double top. If we keep setting these daily higher lows, that double top remains in play. Waves has had a huge amount of volatility. It's been an extremely weak coin. Volume poured in. That hourly volume saw a 1,500% increase in the average hourly volume. But now we got an equilibrium, which comes after volatility. Let's go to the 2-hour time frame. We are viewing this as the high of the bull move, the low of 792, the lower high of 945. Bulls must hold 792. It's a potential bottom fishing play. We just held it by 16 pennies. If bulls are able to maintain that support, we're going to look for this equilibrium to continue. And then we know volatility will be coming when it breaks. So looking forward to tighten up ideally for another 6-8 hours. But the burden is on the bulls to regain a 15-minute trend change here to be shaping up that 2-hour higher low off of 792. ADA had a big bull move overnight. Oh man, look at that double top. Bears all over the double top. Hourly higher low set. I mean, look at this stair-step pattern. Again, if you don't know stair-step pattern, Google stair-step chart, guys. Higher low every single hourly candle. You lose that pattern at 65 cents, and you drop down to 61 cents. A very nice 6% move. So I'm viewing this as the high of the breakout. Hourly higher low, hourly lower high is now 642. And if we drop down and break 608, it's a confirmed hourly downtrend. We'll then zoom out and we'll scout a 4-hour higher low. And then we'll scout that bounce, and then we'll scout a 4-hour lower high to be the result of that bounce. 15-minute, keeping an eye out for oversold conditions, looking for a 4-hour higher low. We had 5-minute oversold conditions not mark the hourly higher low, so that's not your ideal strength of dip buying. 5-minute oversold conditions led to another leg down. So at this point on ADA, if I have no exposure and I'm looking at this chart, I am patiently, if I want to be patient as a bull, I'm looking for 15-minute oversold conditions to be scouting a 4-hour higher low, knowing that once the 4-hour higher low is set, I'm then going to scout a lower high to be the result of that bounce due to the retracement size on this pullback. Looks like QQQ, Nasdaq is seeing weakness. Not much, but again, that rising wedge is in play. How is Bitcoin responding? Potentially shaping up that right shoulder. All about 31.8. So if I'm looking to play this head and shoulders pattern, how do I position myself? I'm short right now, and I say that is either our 15-minute lower high, and we're going to break 31.8, or I'm wrong, and I want to be stopped out. So you might look at this and say, well, I don't want to put my stop at 32.4. That's way too far away. For me, if I'm taking this trade, that has to be the top. And if it's not, I stop out because I'm wrong. Because again, if that level were to break from here, the 15-minute higher lows keep forming, and it's not a head and shoulders. I'm missing some bear gains out there. All right. VET was the third musketeer. Thank you for that. Appreciate the likes. Yes, let's get it to 100 every time. That's great. That's interesting. Steven trades a lot better when he's setting limit buys and sells. That shows establishing a game plan in advance always, or obviously I should say. For me, that's not the case. I am a much better trader with market orders, which certainly is to my detriment in the cryptocurrency space with fees. And the reason is I am much more reactive in terms of watching and then acting on what I'm seeing as it's playing out. One's not better than the other, it's just different styles. Do I always use the low settings? I use the close on my RSI, but I'm watching when it's happening. You know, if we hit first hourly oversold conditions, it happens before the candle closes. So I'm watching it as it happens, but on my chart, I use RSI close. What's Luna doing? Luna's tightening up as well. Luna's a potential 4-hour equilibrium, 4-hour inside bar, potentially forming a second 4-hour inside bar. So high, low, lower high, and if these inside bars break bear, it's all about 720 support to try and remain within this tightening range. You see those little news flashes. It's interesting. Fidelity's getting news alerts about metaverse land sales. They're exposing some of the stock world to crypto. Near. Let's see, virtual land. $97,000 plots, blah, blah, blah. Some stocks that are related. I always like to keep a tab on what people are being exposed to. I probably get that news alert because I do have MARA up on my screen. Near. So Near's looking for a 4-hour high or low. 15-minute. Did see a trend change back to the bulls, but a lack of any follow through. So the hourly is nice and clear for me. Higher low, lower high, lower low, lower high. So how long are we going to keep up this hourly downtrend? Bulls essentially need to hold 583 and break 615 if we're going to see the 4-hour higher low established. Have to be cautious because of the size of this retracement. Next time we bounce, have to be cautious that we're just going to set a lower high compared to 655. Again, obviously it's going to be a lot dependent on what Bitcoin is doing, but without even looking, I know near BTC is dropping notably hard the last 12 hours. Daily resistance, 653. We topped out at 655. It's a double top at daily resistance. And in my opinion, that's why we're seeing this notable of a pullback from that daily level. So we are scouting a 4-hour high or low, but again, keep your bear glasses on, even if you're a bull, to protect against the possibility of a 4-hour lower high being the result of the next bounce. Definitely used to keep trading journals back in my early days. I would just use a spreadsheet and I would put the date and the ticker and I would do entry, exit, stop loss, notes, and then, you know, how the trade played out, whether I had profit or a loss and all that. And I definitely suggest doing that. They've got automated services now like TraderView that a lot of people use. A lot of ChartGuys members use that, and that helps visualize data. I mean, you can see, you know, what day you have most of your losses on and what time of the day and things like that. That give you a bit more insight that manual tracking might not do. But you absolutely need to be learning from mistakes as you are starting out trading and going back and reviewing them. And we have a bunch of ChartGuys members who have started consistently making written up trade reviews on a daily basis and trade review videos. And that is absolutely essential, in my opinion, to try and level up as a trader and improve upon those mistakes to ensure that we're not repeating them. Because if I'm just staying in my head and I'm not interacting with other people and I'm not reviewing my trades, it's so easy to just move on to the next day and completely forget any lesson that you got from the red trade that you took the day prior. You got to keep that lesson with you. Litecoin still relatively weak. Again, for me, big picture. So Litecoin right now looking for a 4-hour high or low, but for me, big picture, as long as LTC BTC keeps setting weekly lower highs, which it easily is, it's a daily bear flag still possible. It's just a lead bear. It's been a lead bear for so long, and if we keep setting, you know, right now we could see this bounce on LTC BTC for weeks and still be setting the weekly lower highs that we've been seeing for over a year. So if we do not have a weekly uptrend on LTC BTC, or if we do not break the weekly lower highs, it's a lead bear. Keep it simple. If LTC BTC is setting a weekly lower high, it's a lead bear. NBT. Can't do technical analysis in any meaningful way here. I mean, what is your volume here? Dollar volume on Binance. We had a day here where we traded, I don't even know what that is, $2,000? $20,000 at most? It's just not enough dollar volume. The wicks is just not good for technical analysis. Yeah, we're trading $100 an hour here. The Strategy of the Guardian and the Harvester. So that's our ebook, right? And the video that I did. So let's just post that in the chat while we're talking about it. So did the video about scaling out of positions. Look at those azaleas. So posted that in the comments. Key 4-hour support here. Again, it's a rising wedge, so could do a little trend line tweak if we do bounce from here, but close to a bear break as Bitcoin is closing in on 31.8. So a bear is comfortable. If 32.150 breaks, it's not a head and shoulders. And if 31.8 breaks, it confirms into hourly consolidation. And we'll then scout an hourly higher low compared to 31.2. All right, I got to go take advantage of these setups and do some trading. I appreciate you tuning in. We will check back in. I guess what? Our schedule is thrown off a bit this week. I guess I'll stream Thursday. Yeah. How much money do I want at retirement? I've already got it. Just not going to give it back. That's the key for me. Last one, link, and then I will see you all soon. Make sure and watch those broader market videos I put out every day because they are absolutely relevant to what we're watching for Bitcoin as well. So link, we've got a bit of a double top here. We had 764 as resistance and we broke it, but no follow through. So 4-hour support. Wow, look at that resistance zone here. So 767 was a level, and it's now a double top. The most important support is 717. We have not broken our bounce high. Again, that's an easy way to distinguish who has broken the initial bounce high and who has not. I would still say we're in a daily downtrend at this point. And essentially, what that 717 support is going to tell us, if we lose that level, daily consolidation is underway. And we'll then zoom out and scout a daily higher low. You can see the hourly consolidation has already started here, a bit faster than Bitcoin. So I know Link BTC has just made a short-term bear break. Let's prove it. I guess that bear break was a bit ago. Again, watch that Link BTC daily EMA 12 resistance. We have rejected from this resistance. I mean, look at the consistency here. Rejection, 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 and currently struggling. If we do not get over the daily EMA 12 on Link BTC, it will remain a lead bear. That has to change. All right, love you all. Do good things. See you soon.